Cape Disappointment. It's a name that scratches at you like barnacles on an old hull. Don't let any map tell you it's 'cause some explorer missed a river. Folks here, they know better. This cape, it disappoints 'cause it always takes something from you before it lets you leave. It's a place where the Columbia River just gives up and flows into the Pacific. Fog can roll in so thick you can't see your hand in front of your face. Tides swallow the shore in minutes. More than 2,000 ships, they say, have wrecked on hidden bars and black rocks here. The sea's taken captains, families, whole crews. It's a hungry place, that cape. The village itself, it wasn't much. 300 souls maybe. A church, a bait shop, a diner worn down by the wind, a grocery store with creaky floors, and a lighthouse older than most of the families living there. Tourists came in summer, storm chasers in autumn, ghost hunters in October. Most never stayed more than a weekend. The ones who did, they learned pretty quick to stop asking so many questions. But every morning before the sun even thought about showing its face, one man walked that beach. His name was Gideon Shaw. Most just called him the Tide Walker. Kids wave, adults nod, visitors laugh. Gideon, he always carried the same things: a brass lantern, a walking stick carved with symbols nobody recognized, and a satchel full of smooth black stones. He'd stop every few hundred feet, place a stone in the sand, whisper something the wind carried away, pick up another stone, and just keep going. Rain, snow, wind, even hurricane-force storms didn't matter. For 47 years, he never missed a morning. People had their theories, of course. Some thought he lost his wife to the sea. Others swore his son vanished on a fishing boat. There were those who insisted he came back from Vietnam, broken beyond repair. Every resident had their own explanation, but one thing was certain: Gideon Shaw was harmless, just peculiar. Teenagers would poke fun. Visitors secretly film him. Kids sometimes follow until their parents called him home. Nobody ever seriously asked him what he was doing. Most times it's easier to make up a story than to hear the truth. Then one October, 5 documentary filmmakers rolled into town. They were doing a series on haunted places, you see. Emma, she was the director. Noah handled the cameras. Luis flew the drones. Sophie researched the local folklore. And Ben figured every ghost story was pure nonsense. Cape Disappointment was just supposed to be another episode proving legends were born from fear and isolation. They talked to fishermen, park rangers, the lighthouse keeper. Everyone gave them the same strange advice: if the fog comes early, go inside. Ben, he just laughed. Saeed, it's weather. An old fisherman, he just looked out at the churning water and quietly said, no, weather doesn't whisper. That evening, the crew watched Gideon walking the shoreline, placing those black stones in the wet sand. Ben zoomed his camera in. What in the world is this guy doing? The fisherman just looked away, keeping count. Ben asked, count of what? He got no answer, just silence. The episode, they figured, wrote itself. An eccentric old man, ghost stories, a stormy coast. Perfect television. The next morning, at sunrise, they followed him. Gideon noticed right away, never even turned around, just spoke. You shouldn't be behind me. Ben, all smiles, said, we're making a documentary. Gideon replied, I know. We'd love to interview you, Ben tried. No, Gideon said. Can you at least tell us what you're doing? Gideon stopped walking. The ocean behind him went unnaturally quiet. He stared at the horizon, not at them, but at the water. There, closer. Then he just kept walking. That afternoon, the fog arrived 6 hours early. It didn't drift. It rolled, like something was pushing it inland. Birds vanished. Every gull, every raven, every eagle, gone. The ocean went silent. Completely. No waves, no seals, nothing. The villagers, they knew what to do. Storefronts slammed shut. Boats raced back to harbor. Parents called their children inside. Porch lights went out. In 15 minutes, the village looked abandoned. Only Gideon remained outside, still walking, still placing stones. Ben chuckled. They really commit to the act. Then the lighthouse horn sounded. Once, twice, 3 times. It wasn't automated. That lighthouse had been decommissioned decades ago. The fog reached the first row of houses and stopped, not because of the wind, because something inside it was watching. Shapes, dozens, then hundreds, tall, thin. Their bodies moved like people underwater. No footsteps, no breathing, just the sound of dripping. Black water pooled beneath each one, but the ground stayed dry. Emma slowly lowered her camera. What? Nobody answered her. Nobody knew. One figure stepped forward, its head turned, slow-like. Its face had no eyes, no mouth, just smooth, gray skin pulled tight over bone. It raised a hand. Every other figure did the same, all at once. The cameras all shut off. Every battery died. Ben whispered, "What are they?" From behind them, Gideon's voice came. They're early. No fear in his voice, no surprise, just disappointment. Emma asked, "You knew this would happen." "I knew it would happen someday," he said. He took off his satchel. The remaining black stones rolled into his hand. Exactly 13. He frowned. There should have been 14. Something slammed into the fog from the inside. Not toward them, toward that invisible line Gideon had been walking all morning. The creature struck an unseen barrier. The entire shoreline flashed blue. Every stone Gideon had buried started glowing under the sand. The thing screamed, not like an animal, not like a person, like rusted steel twisting underwater. Ben just stared. "The rocks, they're not rocks," Gideon said. "They're locks." That barrier shimmered across nearly 2 miles of shoreline, invisible, ancient, and it was cracking. Another impact, another crack, another scream. Then the villagers emerged from their homes. They weren't fleeing. They carried lanterns, old lanterns, brass, just like Gideon's. Every resident, the schoolteacher, the mechanic, the waitress, the sheriff, the pastor, the lighthouse volunteer, even the children, each took their place without a word. Emma looked around, disbelief in her eyes. "You all knew?" The sheriff answered quietly, "We knew enough." Ben pointed at Gideon. "Who is he?" Silence. Even the villagers looked at the old man, like they were waiting for permission. Gideon sighed. Then he smiled, a tired smile. "I was hoping," he said, "to die being remembered as the strange old fool who walked the beach." He took off his heavy coat. Beneath it, no ordinary clothes. His sweater was embroidered with symbols older than the lighthouse. Around his neck hung a compass that spun wildly, even though there was no magnetic north nearby. Scars covered both forearms, hundreds of them. Some looked decades old, others fresh. "My grandfather walked this beach," he said. "My father walked this beach. I've walked it since I was 12. Emma whispered, "Why?" "Because every morning," he said, "I repair the shoreline." Nobody understood. Not until he pointed toward the fog. "This isn't land. This isn't sea. This cape is a door." He let those words sink in. The river carries memories. The ocean carries hunger. Where they meet, something else gathers. "The first Chinook people knew," he continued. "The lighthouse keepers learned. The Coast Guard inherited fragments. The town," he smiled again, "forgot." Another impact shattered part of the glowing barrier. 3 creatures stepped through. They didn't walk, they glided. Their gray skin dripped black seawater that hissed where it landed. Plants withered instantly. Wood darkened. Glass frosted. The sheriff drew his pistol. Gideon gently lowered it. "It has never worked." The pastor raised a cross. Gideon lowered that too. "Neither has that." Emma looked at him. "What stops them?" Gideon stared at his lantern. Someone willing to remember. He lifted the lantern high. Its flame changed from orange to a brilliant blue. Every lantern in the village ignited, without matches, without fuel. Blue fire spread from person to person until the shoreline glowed like a ring of stars. The creatures hesitated. For the first time, they looked afraid. Ben whispered, "They know him." Gideon smiled sadly. "No, they know my job." Then he stepped beyond the barrier, alone, into the fog. The villagers never moved. They just held their lanterns higher. Emma watched shapes surround Gideon. Hundreds, thousands. The fog swallowed him completely. His blue lantern disappeared. Silence. long enough that she thought he was gone. Then the sea roared. Every wave along the coast crashed at once. The earth shook. The lighthouse beacon, dark for decades, blazed to life. Its lights swept across the cape. The fog exploded outward. The creatures dissolved like ink in rain. The sky cleared. Stars emerged. The barrier vanished. Gideon stood alone on the beach. Older, much older. His hair had turned completely white. His hands trembled. Emma ran to him. "You did it." He smiled. "For another year." "For another year." He nodded. "The tide always returns." Then he looked at the villagers. For the first time, they bowed, not out of worship, out of gratitude. Emma finally understood. The odd old man everyone ignored, the one tourists laughed at, the one children copied, the one people called crazy, was the single reason the village still existed. Months later, Emma released her documentary. None of the footage from that night survived. Every camera failed. Every memory card was erased. Only interviews remained. No one believed her. The film became known as the documentary with no ending. People called it a hoax. Emma never argued, because every October she returned to Cape Disappointment. Every sunrise, she walked beside Gideon, carrying a satchel of black stones, learning the old words, learning where each stone belonged, learning why the tide must always be counted. One autumn morning, the villagers awoke to find Gideon's walking stick leaning against the lighthouse door. His lantern rested beside it. His footprints ended at the water's edge. There were no tracks leading away, only the sea. No funeral was held, no search parties organized, no obituary appeared in the newspaper. The townspeople simply gathered at sunrise, watched Emma shoulder the satchel, pick up the lantern, and begin walking the shoreline exactly as Gideon had for nearly half a century. Tourists still laugh when they see her whispering to the waves. Children still ask why she buries black stones in the sand. Parents just smile. She's the tide walker. They never explain further. Some truths aren't meant for everyone to understand, only for the one willing to walk the shore before dawn and make certain that whatever waits beneath the fog never finds the door left open. If this story held you, tell someone about it.